Right, what we're doing is we're looking at genotype, phenotype, and it's similar to the mitosis because it's talking about genes, but this goes in a bit more detail. Right, initially it looks a bit crazy, but you just learn the structure of how to answer the questions and inshallah you'll be alright. So most simple genetic crosses, such as those studied by Mendel, and that'll be in the book, investigates phenotypes. Right, this is how I look at phenotypes. That tells you how the organism looks physically. I use the word looks. It reminds me that, okay, if you've got a plant that's got two alleles, big T and small t, if that is the dominant one, the plant will be tall. And that is for a short plant. So if you've got one T from the mother, one T from the father, them two T's will make sure that you end up with a short plant. Right, genotype, I like to look at it as what types of genes you've got. So here, you've got big T, small t. That codes for a tall plant, that codes for a short plant. Right. Without getting too complicated, right, okay. Phenotypes determined by pairs of alleles. So remember what we said alleles were. Alleles are two forms of the same gene. You can look at it that way. They code for the same thing. So for example, you could have a gene here that codes for eye color, and that's from mum. And you've got a gene that codes for eye color, but that one is from dad. These two are alleles because the genes that code for the same thing. Right. Dominant. So for example, like here, I've got big T, small t. If I have this in a seed and my plant is tall, because of this, that means that the tall allele is dominant. It's the one dominant. It is the one that is expressed, so listen to the language, expressed in a heterozygote. What that means is you've got homozygote. Homo just means same. So when you've got both the same genes that code for small or tall, these two are homozygote. They're homozygotes. This here is a heterozygote. And if the plant is tall in this case, the tall plant allele is dominant. It's the one that is always, it's best to use the word always, expressed in a heterozygote. Homozygote, it doesn't matter because they're both the same anyway. Right. Mendel crossed homozygous tall tea plants with homozygous dwarf pea plants. So let's do it here. So what happened was you've got a tall pea plant and you've got little flowers and you've got right, let's do one here, and you've got a short pea plant with flowers. So what he did was he took the these came from tall parents, and all the pollen that came out of that was from tall parents. So what happened was he took a pollen from that and crossbred it with the over from there. And remember, he said this is homozygous tall and this is homozygous dwarf. So we're going to do big T for tall, small t for dwarf, not short, dwarf. Right. So let's do this. So we'll say this has come from the male, big T, and this has come from the female, small t, small t. So you've got big T, small t, big T, small t, big T, small t, big T, small t. So what's happened? Look, we've crossed. Look at this. We've crossed this with this. We've ended up with that T is there, and this T is here. And it'll be the same all the way through. So what we're going to do is we're going to end up with what type of plants? What does this, what's the phenotype? Phenotype I like to see is how the plant looks. So this is going to look tall. Why? Because the big T is its what? What is it? It is dominant. If I can spell dominant. Dominant. That means when there's a big and a small, the dominant one always expresses itself, always shows up. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. All the plants are going to be tall. Use a genetic diagram to show the parent genotypes, the gametes, and the genotypes of the offspring. So I'm gonna just get rid of all this. Let's see what happens. Yeah, after. Really? Right, okay, let's start this. So, so this is the structure, right? So they're saying parent saying parent genotype. So the parent genotype. Then they want the gametes that come from there. Remember what we said gametes were? Gametes, what color? Is there anything? Gametes are another word for sex cells. There you go. Right, and then the last one is the genotypes of the offspring. Genotype. Okay, let's offspring genotype. Right, parent genotype. Right, the parents had big T, small t, small t. The two gametes that we've got are a big T and a small t. So remember, this has come from mom, that's come from, right, okay, that's come from dad, that's come from mom in our example. So we've got one of each. And what did the kids end up with? They ended up with, right, it's gone. It's a shame that. They ended up with big T and small t. All four of them. But look at this. They're saying they're going to give you 3 marks if you do the correct Punnett score. So if you did this, T, 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 T. If you did that, they'd give you 3 marks as well. But what I would advise for now, learn this structure. Yeah. And then line things up like, oh, line things up like this. And you got it. Yeah, that's horrible. Right, okay, let's move on. What did Mendel then do? He then made sure that the tall offspring plants could only self-pollinate rather than being pollinated by other plants. The seeds grew to give new plants in the ratio of 3:1 phenotypic ratio. Right, let me draw this out because this is what they're trying to say. Again, it's right. So look, this is one plant. Just say that's mom. And this is the other plant, and this is dad. Because remember, all the plants were tall, but it was a heterozygote, not a homozygote, because they had one of each. One of each. So if I cross T and T, I get TT. If I cross T and T, I get T, small t. If I cross T and T, I get T and small t. And then finally, if I cross T and T, I get T, T. Right, you've got that. Now, what's the offspring ratio? Look, that's going to be tall, that's going to be tall, that's going to be tall because they've got the big T and that is the dominant one. And then you have, will that do it? Yeah, okay. That'll be short. That's why they said 3 to 1. 3 tall, the green ones, and 1 short, the orange one. Right, that's not answering the question. That was just giving you a bit of background. It's good to know this. Suggest how Mendel made sure that the pea plants self-pollinated. So what he did was he'll have put them in uh, he put them in plastic bags to stop. Suggest how? Okay, to just say to stop cross pollination. He put them in plastic bags to stop cross pollination and pollinated them using, did you say, I don't know, a paintbrush or by hand paintbrush. So he rubbed the pollen from one plant um, to another plant, but the one that he knew came from these. Yeah, so no, so okay, so he's stopping self-pollinating. Right, my fault. So I'm just trying to understand the question. Right, okay. So you've got a plant with a flower. Right, there's the ovule. This is the ovary. That's the ovule. There's ovum in there, eggs in there. So now we need to get. So we take the pollen from here. You take a brush and you, without damaging it, you brush it from there onto here, and then it'll work its way down and fertilize one of the ova in the ovules. Okay. So it's got yeah, this I missed this word. Self-pollinate. Give the genotypes of the offspring he obtained from the self-pollinated plants. Yeah, and we've done that here. TT and TT. So there's two types that he's gonna get. He's gonna get a T, T, and T. No, he's gonna get three types. He's gonna get the T, T as well. He's gonna get three types, three genotypes. Okay, what is a there we go. So what we're doing is, what is a dominant allele? It's an allele that is always expressed, shows up, yeah, in a heterozygote. So remember what we said, heterozygote, it'll be the ones with the same. And silly person, this here is a homozygote because it's always the same. Homozygote. Lack of sleep, I got to blame. Right, and then if you've got hetero, it means different. Heterozygote. So it's different. So the dominant one is the big T, and if that means it expresses for a tall plant, then you'll end up with a tall plant. Right, codominant. Right, this is when you have a heterozygote. When you have a heterozygote, let me get rid of that. Let me put a proper Z. That causes confusion. Heterozygote. Right. Both alleles contribute or are expressed, are expressed in a heterozygote. The example that I've seen is where you've got a red snapdragon and you've got a white snapdragon, and when they cross over, you're going to end up with got pink. Yes, we have. You're going to end up with a pink flower. So that means they are codominant, that they both show up. Right. Achondroplasia. Try saying that when you're half asleep. So achondroplasia is an inherited condition in humans. And adults with an achondroplasia are much shorter than average height. This condition is controlled by a gene with two alleles, dominant A for shorter and recessive A for average. Oh, okay, so it's the way around. So that A is short and this A is, yeah, they've used the word average. Right. They had a child that grew up to be of average height. Okay. So look, there are two parents that had achondroplasia. Now the question is, did they have this genotype or did they have this genotype? It doesn't matter which way around it is. I could have put it this way. Okay. So, but we're not interested in that. But what makes us suspect, right? Now, just say if that could have been mum and dad or mum or dad, we don't know because they both got achondroplasia. Now, or did mum and dad have both, or did one have this and the other one have this? But we know they had a child who grew up to be of average height. So that means the child must have had inherited A and A. So what that tells me is this. You've got A from mum, and from dad, you've got A and A also. Why? Because A and A gives achondroplasia. A and A will give achondroplasia. Okay, A and A will give achondroplasia, and A will give an average height. So that tells me that it would have been this genotype from mom and dad. Right, how do you do that? So, right. There's four things we need to do. I do it the long way. Right, genotype, parent. You've got gametes that they produce. Remember what we said gametes were? They were sex cells. Gametes, you've got to get used to these words, is another name for sex cells. And for humans, it's the ova and the sperm. Right, gametes of a parents that the gametes produced by parents. So we'll just leave it like that, produced. And then genotypes. So what will the kids be? Genotype of, oh, not parents, kids of spring. Right. And phenotypes of all possible offspring. All that means, right, all that means is what will they look like? So we figured out that the parents have A, and A, and you just got these two. What they're going to produce. So if that's they're going to produce an AA and capital A, lowercase a, and an AA. So these are the three different types of, no, put that in the wrong section. Let's undo that. So you're going to produce A, and A. So these are the 4 gametes. The genotype offspring is this table. A, and A. And what we said was, and this will be short, and that will be average size. So remember we said phenotype is how it shows up, how it looks. Okay, let's carry on this. We'll put the others in another video. Right, okay. The parents had a second child. State the probability that this child grew to an average height. So again, let's look at it here actually on the Punnett square. So look, you've got short, and average. So the chance of you being short is 3 out of 4. The chance of you being average is 1 out of 4. So the question is, the probability that this child grew up to be average height is again a quarter. Achondroplasia is caused by a dominant allele. Yeah, we said that a dominant allele is an allele that is always expressed in a heterozygote. So basically, if you've got a M, that will be expressed. This will be, so that will be dominant, and that there is recessive. Right, suggest why the number of people with achondroplasia is even low, even though it's dominant. So that means it could be that people with achondroplasia are less likely to have children. The alleles may be rare, and yeah, that's it. Selective advantage for AA. Again, if you look at it in terms of evolution or survival of the fittest, people tend to marry people that are tall. So it's a selective advantage, because you'd be more attracted to somebody taller than short. Right, okay, we'll call it quits there and we'll start the next video.